Your grocery bill and your gas pump are tied together more tightly than most people want to admit. If fuel spikes, trucks cost more to run. If trucks cost more to run, food costs more to move. If a major shipping choke point gets threatened, insurers panic, routing gets messy, and prices jump before you ever see an official shortage. So this video is a calm, practical plan for food scarcity and extreme inflation. Not a fantasy bunker plan, a household plan. The goal is simple. Reduce the chance you get trapped in the chaos, paying the highest prices at the worst moment. Quick disclaimer. This is general information for preparedness and personal planning. I'm not telling you what to do, and I'm not giving legal or safety advice. Follow local laws and safety rules, especially with anything involving fuel, heat, or storage. Alright, let's start with the big picture because it explains why this happens so suddenly. Most stores don't have months of food sitting in the back. They run on constant replenishment. That system works when fuel is normal, shipping lanes are open, and deliveries are predictable. When one of those pieces gets stressed, the public doesn't feel the problem right away. Then it hits all at once. First, it's price jumps, then it's limits, then it's empty shelves on certain categories. And then it's the part people forget. It's not only food, it's packaging, fertilizer, diesel exhaust fluid, and every boring input that keeps farms and trucking moving. That's why you prepare in phases, not one giant shopping spree, not a cart full of random stuff. Phases build a system that you can afford, store, and actually use. Phase 1 is inventory. This is where most people skip, and it costs them money. Before you buy anything new, you need to know what you already have, what you actually eat, and what you're missing. A simple list works. Pantry, freezer, fridge, snacks, and anything tucked in closets. Check dates, but don't obsess. The real value is spotting gaps. You might find you've got plenty of carbs and almost no protein, or lots of canned veggies, but nothing you'd want to eat for breakfast. Inventory shows you the holes so you stop buying duplicates and start buying balance. The rule for phase 1 is build around your real habits, not a prepper stereotype. If your household hates a certain food now, don't force it into your plan. Stressful situations are not the time to introduce survival cuisine your family will refuse. Phase 2 is removing the stress. This is the 3-day base. 3 days doesn't sound impressive, but it does something huge psychologically. It stops the panic. It stops the "we have nothing" feeling that makes people do dumb, expensive runs to the store. This is mostly ready-to-eat, low-effort food, things you can eat with minimal cooking and minimal decision-making. It doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to be easy. Once you have 3 days, you extend to 2 weeks slowly in normal grocery trips, 1 or 2 extras each trip. That way you're not blowing your budget and you're not stuck with a mountain of food you don't even like. Phase 3 is your backbone calories. This is where pantry staples come in, but with one condition: you only store what you'll actually use. Rice, pasta, beans, lentils, flour, instant potatoes, oats. High-calorie basics that stretch meals and don't cost a fortune. This is the phase that protects you when prices surge, because you can still build full meals even when the store is missing the nice-to-have items. And there's a quiet point here people miss. Some foods are cheap now, but they become expensive fast during shortages. Staples tend to be the first things to get limited, and the first things people fight over. So having a reasonable buffer of them keeps you from shopping with a crowd. Phase 4 is the invisible foods. This is where food storage plans quietly fail. Spices, salt, cooking oil, vinegar, bouillon, hot sauce, coffee or tea if you're a daily person, sweeteners, baking powder, and basic condiments. Not because they're extra, but because they make your staple foods actually edible day after day. Salt matters, seasoning matters, fat matters. You can have a mountain of rice and beans and still feel miserable if every meal tastes like punishment. This phase also includes the small comfort items that keep morale stable. If coffee is your non-negotiable, treat it like a staple. Stock it like you mean it. Phase 5 is cooking without normal power. If your entire food plan requires a working stove and a perfectly stable grid, it's not a plan, it's a wish. You don't need to turn your home into a camp. You do need a safe backup way to heat food and boil water. The key word is safe. If you use a store-bought camping stove or similar option, follow manufacturer instructions, use the proper fuel, and think hard about ventilation and carbon monoxide. Don't improvise with sketchy setups indoors. This is one of those areas where people get hurt during simple outages. Also, test your cooking plan before you need it, not a big weekend project, just one meal. The first time you try a backup cooking method should not be during a crisis when everyone is hungry and tense. Phase 6 is storing smarter. Most people don't actually fail because they didn't buy enough. They fail because they didn't build a system. Food piled in random places turns into expired food, wasted money, and stress. The solution is basic organization. You want categories that match how you'd use things. Ready to eat, pantry staples, cooking add-ons, water, and a small grab section for quick disruptions. Use shelves, bins, underbed storage, closet storage, whatever fits your home. The point isn't to build a bunker. The point is to make rotation easy. If you can't see it, you won't use it. And if you won't use it, it will quietly expire. Now let's talk about the piece that needs to be said clearly. Water rides alongside food the whole time. You can't cook staples without water. You can't live without water. And when disruptions hit, water access can get weird fast, especially in apartments or places that rely on pumps. So build water the same way you build food. Add a little as you go. Keep it boring and consistent. Now, I want to connect this back to the energy side because that's what triggers a lot of the why is everything exploding in price moments. When oil and diesel spike, food gets hit in the second wave, not always immediately, but fast enough that you'll notice it. And major geopolitical choke points matter because they create fear-based pricing. Even if supply is still moving, the risk of disruption pushes costs up. That shows up at the pump, and then in shipping costs, and then in the grocery aisle. So part of your food plan is also a fuel plan, but not the internet version. A realistic fuel plan is keep your vehicle maintained so you waste less. Don't run your tank down to fumes. Combine errands. And if prices surge, don't panic buy yourself into a traffic jam. If you store any fuel, keep it modest, legal, and safe, using approved containers, stored correctly, and rotated. Fuel is useful, but it's also a hazard when people get sloppy. Don't turn prepared into one spark away from a nightmare. Now here's the long game upgrade that makes a household stronger without spending a fortune. Reduce your dependence on one store. That doesn't mean you need a farm. It means you should know local options. Farmers markets, local farms, CSA boxes if they exist near you. Even just knowing who sells eggs or produce locally can make a shortage feel less like a trap. And at home, you can do small food production that actually works in normal spaces. Sprouts, microgreens, a simple indoor herb setup, a small hydroponic unit if that's your style. None of this replaces your pantry, but it adds resilience. It gives you something fresh and local when the supply chain is strained. So let's land this plane. Food scarcity and extreme inflation don't always arrive as one dramatic moment. It's often a squeeze. Prices rise, certain categories disappear. Then they reappear at double the cost. Then the limits show up. Then you get waves of panic buying whenever a rumor hits. The best way through that isn't fear, it's phases. Inventory first. 3 days to calm the house down. 2 weeks to stop shopping with crowds. Staples for real calories. Invisible food so meals stay livable. Backup cooking done safely. Storage that rotates instead of rots. And water built alongside it all. If you do that, you don't have to be the person fighting for the last bag of rice while your phone is buzzing with urgent posts and the checkout line looks like a stress test. You're already home. You're already covered. You're already calm. That's the whole point.